The day she stayed home. The first person to notice Hannah was not ready for school was her father, not because she said anything, because she was already dressed. At 6:45, she sat at the breakfast table in her navy blazer, white shirt, and polished black shoes. Her competition folder lay beside her untouched cereal. Her hair was neatly braided, her school badge pinned straight. Everything about her looked prepared, except her face. Martin paused in the doorway, tightening his watch. "You're early. I couldn't sleep. You should have told us." "It's fine." He glanced at her bowl. "You haven't eaten. I'm not hungry." "The regional qualifiers are in 3 days. You need energy." "I know." Martin took a bottle of water from the refrigerator and placed it beside her. "Drink that, at least." She nodded. He kissed the top of her head and moved to the kitchen island, where his laptop waited beside a stack of contracts. That was how mornings worked in the Whitmore house. The staff arrived at 7. The driver left at 7:20. Martin answered emails while standing. His wife, Amelia, moved between the kitchen and upstairs hallway, already dressed for work, but still checking Hannah's lunch, uniform, competition notes, and church program. Their home was large enough for silence to go unnoticed. 3 floors, a glass staircase, a private garden, a study used mostly for video calls, a dining room reserved for guests. They had more space than most families knew what to do with. Still, the 3 of them had learned to live around one another. Amelia entered carrying Hannah's lunch bag. "I added the fruit you like." "Thank you." "You have science practice after school, then choir." "I know." "And Pastor Adrian wants you to rehearse the reading for Sunday." "I know." Amelia smiled. "You're carrying a lot this week." Hannah lowered her eyes. Martin looked up from his laptop. "She can handle it." "I know she can." Amelia answered too quickly. Martin noticed. So did Hannah. A familiar tension entered the room. Amelia placed the lunch bag beside her daughter. "Your father thinks you should focus only on the competition this week." "I didn't say only. You said the church rehearsal was unnecessary." "I said she has too much scheduled." "She promised." "She is 13. She is responsible." Martin closed his laptop. "And that is why people keep giving her more." Amelia folded her arms. Hannah stared at her cereal. This was how decisions were often made. Not for her, around her. Her father valued discipline, but wanted to protect her time. Her mother valued commitment, and believed promises mattered. Neither thought they were pressuring her. They simply expected her to understand both sides and choose correctly. "Hannah," Amelia said, "what do you want to do?" The question sounded generous. It never felt generous. If she skipped rehearsal, her mother would be disappointed. If she attended, her father would think she was exhausting herself. Whichever answer she gave would support one parent and reject the other. "I can do both," Martin leaned back. "You don't have to." "It's okay." Amelia touched her shoulder. "That's my girl." Martin said nothing. Hannah knew his silence meant he disagreed. She picked up her spoon. Her hand trembled, making the metal strike the bowl. Both parents looked at her. She put it down. "Can I stay home today?" The room changed. Amelia frowned. "From school?" Hannah nodded. "Are you sick?" "No." "Did something happen?" "No." Martin studied her. "Is this about the competition?" "I don't know." Amelia checked the clock. "The driver will be here any minute." "I know." "You have laboratory practice this morning." "I know." "Your teachers are already adjusting classes around the competition." "I know." Her voice grew smaller with each answer. Martin closed his laptop fully. "Stop saying that." She looked at him. He pulled out the chair opposite her. "What is wrong?" "Nothing. You asked to miss school 3 days before the biggest academic event of your year." Amelia sat beside her. "You've never stayed home unless you were ill." "I'm just tired." "Physically?" Hannah shrugged. Amelia reached for her forehead. Hannah recoiled before she could touch her. The movement was so quick that Amelia froze. "I'm sorry," Hannah said. "You don't have to apologize. I didn't mean—" "Hannah," Martin's voice was gentle. "Look at me." She did. Her eyes were already wet. He had seen her cry over scraped knees, a failed piano piece, and the death of her first rabbit. This was different. There was no single pain in her face. Only strain. Like a rope pulled tight for too long. Martin glanced at Amelia. "Let her stay home." Amelia hesitated. "The school. I'll call them. She has practice. She can miss one day." A tear fell onto the table. Then another. Amelia moved closer. "Hannah?" The girl covered her face. Her crying came suddenly. Her shoulders shook as she fought to stop it. Amelia pulled her close. "What happened?" Hannah pressed her face into her mother's shoulder and shook her head. Martin stood beside them, helpless. "I'm sorry," Hannah whispered. "For what?" "I don't know. You haven't done anything." "I know." But she kept apologizing. For crying. For missing school. For losing practice time. For worrying them. For making the morning difficult. By the time the driver arrived, Martin had called the school. "My daughter won't be coming today." There was a pause. "No, she isn't ill." Another pause. "She needs the day." The administrator reminded him about the regional competition. Martin looked through the kitchen doorway. Hannah sat on the sofa with a blanket around her shoulders, while Amelia knelt in front of her. "I'm aware," he said. Then he ended the call. By 9 o'clock, Martin had postponed 2 meetings. Amelia had canceled her morning appointment at the architectural firm. Neither admitted it was because of Hannah. They both said they could work from home. Within an hour, Martin had shut himself in the study. Amelia was answering calls from the dining room, and Hannah sat in the living room with a book open on her lap. No one turned a page. At 10:15, Amelia closed her laptop. "This is ridiculous." Hannah looked up. "What?" "We're all pretending today is normal." Martin appeared in the doorway. "I'm not pretending. You've been in the study for an hour. I had work. So did I. And yet you're here." The old tension returned. Hannah stiffened. Amelia noticed and softened her voice. "Come with me." "Where?" "Anywhere outside this house. I should study." "No. But one day off means one day off." Martin almost smiled. "You said that?" Amelia looked at him. "Don't sound so surprised." He lifted his hands. "I didn't say anything. You were about to. I was about to agree." The exchange was mild, almost playful. Then the ease disappeared, and they both looked away. Hannah had spent years noticing moments like that. A joke abandoned, a touch not returned, a conversation reduced to schedules. Her parents did not fight the way other parents did. There were no slammed doors, no shouting, no threats. That almost made it harder. Nothing was bad enough to confront. Nothing was warm enough to trust. They still attended church together, still hosted dinners, still sat beside each other at school events. People admired them. A successful engineer, a respected architect, a gifted daughter. The Whitmores were often described as blessed. Hannah sometimes wondered why blessed families felt so quiet. Amelia took her to a cafe near the river. They ordered hot chocolate and pastries neither finished. For several minutes, Amelia asked no questions. That was unusual. Eventually, Hannah said, "Aren't you angry?" "Why would I be? I missed school. One day, I'll lose practice. Then you'll make it up. What if I don't?" Amelia stirred her drink. "What if you don't what?" "Make it up. Then you do your best at the competition." Hannah looked down. "And if my best isn't enough?" "Enough for what?" The question seemed to confuse her. "For everyone." Amelia stopped stirring. "Hannah, the school already announced it in assembly. That you qualified? That I'm expected to win. I'm sure they meant to encourage you. Pastor Adrian told the church to pray for me. He's proud of you. Aunt Lydia told her daughters they should be more like me." Amelia's expression tightened. "She shouldn't compare you, but everyone does." The words came quietly. "Teachers compare other students to me. Parents compare their children to me. At church, they make me speak to younger girls about discipline." "You are disciplined, I know." Amelia heard the exhaustion inside the familiar answer. Hannah rubbed her thumb along the edge of the napkin. "Sometimes I think everyone knows what I'm going to become except me." "No one has decided your future." Hannah gave a small, uncertain laugh. "You tell people I'll be a doctor. I say you could be. Dad says engineering would suit me. He says you think logically. Grandma says I should run the family foundation. She admires your leadership. Pastor Adrian says I might go into ministry." Amelia opened her mouth, then closed it. None of those statements had sounded dangerous when spoken separately. Together, they formed a life crowded with other people's hopes. "What do you want?" Amelia asked. Hannah looked toward the window. Across the road, 2 men were carrying handmade furniture into a small shop. One held a wooden chair with a curved back. Hannah watched until he disappeared inside. "I don't know." It was the first dishonest answer she gave that day. Amelia knew it. She did not press. On the drive home, Hannah asked if they could stop near the old market. "There's nothing there you need. I just want to look." Amelia turned into the narrow street. They passed fabric shops, antique dealers, and a small workshop with its doors open. Inside, an elderly woman stood over a workbench, sanding the edge of a wooden box. Hannah sat straighter. "Can we stop?" "Here? Please." The workshop smelled of cedar, varnish, and sawdust. The woman introduced herself as Ruth. Hannah moved slowly through the room, touching nothing. Shelves held carved animals, stools, cabinets, and unfinished toys. "This one is beautiful," she said, stopping beside a wooden bird. Ruth smiled. "It has a crooked wing. I like it. Most people ask me to fix it." Hannah turned it carefully in her hands. "Maybe it doesn't need fixing." Amelia watched her daughter's face change. The tightness disappeared. Her eyes became curious, alive. Ruth noticed too. "Do you work with wood?" Hannah looked embarrassed. "No. She draws," Amelia said. Hannah turned sharply. Her mother frowned. "You do, don't you?" "I sketch sometimes." "What do you sketch?" "Nothing important." Ruth leaned against the workbench. "The unimportant things are usually the ones people choose for themselves." Hannah looked at her. Amelia felt the sentence land between them. Before they left, Ruth gave Hannah a block of cedar, for whenever you decide what it wants to become. Hannah held it against her chest all the way home. That evening, Martin found Amelia alone in the kitchen. "Where is she?" "Upstairs." "How is she?" "I don't know." He loosened his tie. "You were with her all day." "That doesn't mean I know." He opened the refrigerator. "Did she say anything about school?" "Not exactly." "The competition?" "She thinks everyone expects her to win." Martin exhaled. "She puts pressure on herself." Amelia looked at him. "Does she?" He turned. "What does that mean?" "Maybe she learned it." "From whom?" "From all of us." Martin closed the refrigerator without taking anything. "I've never told her she had to win. Neither have I." "Then what are you accusing me of?" "I'm not accusing you." "It sounds like you are." Amelia folded her arms. "This is what we do." "What?" "Turn every conversation into a defense." Martin gave a tired laugh. "You suggested I'm responsible for our daughter breaking down. I said all of us. You meant me. Why would I mean you?" "Because lately, everything wrong in this house eventually becomes my fault." Amelia stared at him. "Lately?" Neither spoke. The word opened something they had both avoided. Martin looked away first. "I'll speak to her." "She doesn't need another speech." "What does she need?" "I don't know." "That's comforting." Amelia's face changed. "You think I'm failing her?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Martin rubbed a hand over his face. "This isn't about you. It never is." He looked at her. "What is that supposed to mean?" Before she could answer, Hannah appeared in the doorway holding the cedar block. "I'm sorry." Amelia's anger disappeared. "For what?" "You're arguing because I stayed home." "We're not arguing," Martin said. Hannah looked from one parent to the other. They heard how false it sounded. She nodded anyway. "I'm going upstairs." Martin watched her leave. Then he turned to Amelia. "This is what I mean." "What do you mean?" "She is always watching us decide which one of us she should protect." Amelia went still. "I don't ask her to protect me." "Neither do I." "Then stop acting as if I'm using her against you." "I didn't say that." "You keep saying things without saying them." Martin's voice hardened. "And you keep making her the center of every feeling you no longer give me." The kitchen fell silent. Amelia stared at him. "What does that mean?" He seemed to regret the sentence, but did not withdraw it. "Martin." He looked toward the stairs. "Not tonight." "No, you don't get to say that and walk away." "I'm not doing this while she's upstairs listening." "She has been listening for years." The truth stopped them both. Amelia stepped closer. "You want to talk about what she has heard? Keep your voice down. She has heard you come home late. She has heard you sleep in the study. She has watched you avoid touching me." Martin looked stunned. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you have been absent even when you were standing in the room." "I work." "So do I." "This isn't about work." "No, it isn't." Her restraint finally cracked. "It's about the calls you take outside. The weekends you suddenly need to be at the office. The way you stopped looking at me years ago." Martin stared at her. "Do you think I'm having an affair?" Amelia looked away. That was answer enough. His expression changed from anger to shock. "With whom?" "I don't know." "You don't know because there is no one. You expect me to believe distance appeared by itself?" "I expected you to ask me before deciding I had betrayed you." "I tried asking why you no longer wanted me." "No, you asked why I was tired, why I worked late, why I didn't initiate anything. You never once asked if I was unhappy. You rejected me. I was lonely. So was I. Amelia's eyes filled. Then why did you refuse to try for another baby? Martin fell silent. She laughed bitterly. There. That's silence. Amelia, we talked about having 3 children. Then, after Hannah, every time I mentioned another baby, you delayed it. First it was work, then timing, then my career. Eventually you stopped discussing it. I had reasons. You never gave me one. Because I didn't know how to say it without hurting you. You managed that anyway. He looked at her for a long moment. I didn't refuse another child because I stopped wanting you. Then why? Because after Hannah, there was less and less of us. Amelia's face tightened. That is not her fault. I know it isn't. Then don't blame motherhood for your choices. I'm not blaming motherhood. His voice broke through the restraint he had carried for years. I was afraid another baby would take what little remained of our marriage. Amelia stared at him. Martin continued, quieter now. Every conversation became school, feeding, church, appointments, and activities. You poured everything into being Hannah's mother, and I kept telling myself we would find each other again when she became less dependent. He gave a tired, painful laugh. She became more independent. Nothing changed. You should have told me. I tried asking for time with you. When? When I suggested we travel for our anniversary. She had music camp. When I proposed Friday dinners. I had client meetings. When I asked you to come with me to Cape Town. Hannah had exams. Martin nodded. Exactly. Amelia stepped back as though he had struck her. You think I chose her over you? I think we both hid inside parenting because it was easier than admitting we no longer knew how to be married. That does not explain why you stopped touching me. I stopped because every time I reached for you, I felt like I was interrupting something more important. And instead of saying that, you let me believe there was another woman. I didn't know you believed that. You didn't know because you stopped asking what I felt. His hurt sharpened. And you thought the worst of me without asking what was true. Neither spoke. The argument had reached something deeper than anger. Amelia wiped her face. So what now? Martin picked up his jacket. Where are you going? To the guest house. Her expression hardened. You're walking out. No. For how long? I don't know. So that's it? No. He looked at her. That's the problem. Nothing is ever it with us. What does that mean? We don't end anything. We don't fix anything. We keep going and call it commitment. His voice lowered. I need space before we say things we cannot take back. Then he left. Amelia stood alone as the back door closed. Upstairs, Hannah sat at her desk with the cedar block in front of her. She opened the bottom drawer and removed a sketchbook. Inside were furniture designs, tables, shelves, chairs, wooden toys, a workbench with her initials carved into the side. Near the back was a handwritten page titled, Things I Am Allowed to Be. Brilliant, disciplined, a leader, a winner, a good Christian girl, a daughter who makes her parents proud. Beneath the list, she had written, What happens if I want to be more than one thing? Outside, a light came on in the guest house. Hannah watched her father's shadow move behind the curtains. For the first time, she understood she had not caused the distance between her parents. She had only stopped being busy enough to hide it. Martin spent the night awake. The silence sounded different in the guest house. No footsteps upstairs, no television in the living room, no Amelia reminding Hannah to pack a choir folder. For years, he had told himself they were simply busy. Separated from the house by 40 meters of garden, he could no longer hide behind the schedule. Their marriage had not broken overnight. It had disappeared, one postponed conversation at a time. The following morning, Amelia knocked on the door. Martin opened almost immediately. Neither looked surprised. I made coffee, she said. So did I. They stood awkwardly. Once, they could talk for hours. Now neither knew where to begin. Finally, Amelia asked, Were you serious? About what? When you said I made Hannah the center of every feeling I didn't give you. Martin looked down at his mug. I wasn't blaming you. It felt like blame. It was grief. She frowned. I've been grieving us for years. The words landed quietly. I kept thinking we'd find our way back after the competition, after the next project, after church conference, after summer. He gave a tired smile. There was always another after. Amelia's eyes filled. You should have told me. I should have. And the baby? He looked at her. I was wrong to decide alone. You made me believe you no longer wanted a family with me. I wanted our family. I was afraid of losing the marriage inside it. She swallowed. And the affair? There has never been another woman. I'm sorry. I'm hurt that you believed it. I'm hurt that your silence made it believable. He accepted that without defending himself. After a moment, Amelia said, I thought you stopped wanting me. I wanted you every day. Then why didn't it feel like it? Because somewhere along the way, we became excellent parents. He looked toward the main house. And terrible at being husband and wife. For once, neither defended themselves. The truth was enough. That afternoon, they collected Hannah from Ruth's workshop. Amelia had taken her there after discovering the elderly craftswoman offered weekend classes. Hannah was sanding the edge of a small wooden box. She was humming. Martin could not remember the last time he had heard her do that. Ruth smiled as they approached. She's stubborn. Hannah looked up. So are you. I've had more practice. Martin picked up the unfinished box. You made this? Hannah nodded. It isn't very good, Ruth laughed. She's comparing her first attempt to my 40th year. Martin turned it over. The joints were uneven. One corner sat higher than the others. It was beautiful. I've built bridges worth millions, he said. I've never made anything with my own hands. Hannah smiled. You should try. I think I will. Father and daughter laughed together without either of them trying. That evening, Amelia found Hannah's sketchbook. It fell behind the desk when Hannah reached for a pencil. I can explain. You don't have to. Amelia sat beside her on the floor. Page after page showed furniture designs. Reading nooks, tiny libraries, children's desks, tree houses. The final page contained only a list. Things I'm afraid to say. I love science. I also love this. I'm scared there isn't room for both. When people call me gifted, I feel relieved. When they call me perfect, I feel trapped. Sometimes, I wish I could come second, and nobody would be disappointed. Amelia stopped reading. Hannah, her daughter, covered her face. I didn't want you to think I was wasting my time. Oh, sweetheart. I know this won't become a career. Who told you that? No one. Then why do you believe it? Hannah looked at her with painful honesty. Because nobody ever asked about it. Amelia closed the sketchbook and pulled her close. I'm sorry. For what? For celebrating everything you achieved and forgetting to ask what made you happy. Competition day arrived. The school hall buzzed with nervous students and proud parents. Teachers hurried between rows of desks. Church members had sent messages promising prayers. Several parents stopped Martin and Amelia. We're counting on Hannah. Our children look up to her. She's going to make the school proud. Each compliment felt heavier than the last. Inside the waiting room, Hannah sat with her competition badge pinned to her blazer. No textbooks, no frantic revision. Only stillness. Martin knelt beside her. You don't have to do this. She smiled. I know. Amelia sat on her other side. We'll leave now if that's what you want. Hannah looked at both of them. Can I tell you something? Always, Martin said. I almost didn't come. Neither interrupted. I thought if I stayed home again, everyone might stop expecting things from me. She looked down at her hands. But I realized something. She raised her head. I still love science. A smile spread across her face. I just don't want science to be the only thing that tells me who I am. Martin reached inside his jacket. I brought you something. He handed her a small package. Inside was a professional wood-carving knife. The handle had been engraved, Never lose yourself while becoming your best. Hannah stared at it. You bought this? We chose it together, Amelia said. Hannah looked between them. They had answered with one voice. Not competing, not correcting, simply together. I don't know if I'll win, Martin smiled. I don't care. Amelia squeezed her hand. We're not here to watch you prove your worth. We're here because we already know it, Martin added. When her name was called, Hannah stood. She entered the examination room, carrying neither the weight of her school nor the expectations of her church or family. Only herself. She finished third. 3 months earlier, she would have apologized. Instead, she ran into her parents' arms, laughing. I lost 7 marks. Martin grinned. So, I've never been happier. A year later, the dining table in the Whitmore home was replaced. Not because the old one was damaged, because Hannah had built a new one. Ruth had guided her. Martin had learned to sand wood beside her on Saturday mornings. Amelia had helped design it. The table stood in the center of the dining room, its surface smooth except for one small knot in the timber. Martin ran his fingers over it. You missed a flaw. Hannah smiled. I left it. Why? She looked around the table, at her mother, at her father, at the home that finally felt lived in again. Because perfect isn't what makes something worth keeping. Martin reached across the table and took Amelia's hand. This time, she did not let go. Hannah noticed. She smiled to herself. The day she stayed home had not changed her future because she missed one class. It changed her future because everyone in the family finally stopped trying to become who they were expected to be and made room for who they truly were.
If this story stayed with you until the very end, thank you, truly. I write these stories because I'm fascinated by people, the choices they make, the mistakes they regret, the love they never expected, and the moments that change everything. Every character, every plot twist, every emotional turn, and every ending begins as a blank page before it's carefully written into the story you've just experienced. While AI-assisted narration and visuals help bring these stories to life, the stories themselves are originally written by me, from the first idea to the final twist. If you enjoyed this one, I'd be grateful if you liked the video, subscribed to the channel, shared it with someone who loves emotional stories, and turned on the notification bell. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Until our next journey, Jetta Valine.